everyone, it's Catching Tees here. Welcome to my channel where today I am continuing my Why It Went Viral series, this time with Drunk-Dazed by Enhypen, because I swear this thing had some sort of crack laced in it. Everyone and their mother was listening to it. Even people who swore up and down that they hated noisy boy group music found themselves mysteriously putting it on their playlists. I mean, I played this thing to death in 2021 and I somehow never stopped bopping to it, and I noticed a lot of people saying that they just never got tired of this song despite it being stuck in their head like 24/7. So let's talk about why it blew up and what made it so addicting. Hope y'all enjoy. So, since Drunk-Dazed was Enhypen's first comeback, there's not a lot for me to talk about here, but the things I do talk about are significant contributors to the setup of Drunk-Dazed's success. First off, I want to note that Enhypen was formed from a survival show, something unusual for hybe groups. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that as of now, for a very short period of time, they are the only hybe group formed from a survival show, which is kind of a big deal. We've seen how passionate fans can be when they are given at least the illusion that they have a say in who makes it into a group, and that passion only grows tenfold when it's a big hit group. Fans feeling like they can impact the lineup of a group in the same agency as BTS for the first time is no small factor here. Moving on to their debut, obviously they had good numbers. They're a hybe group, even if hybe hadn't technically been established yet, but I want to mention how Given Taken was praised by many people from many different circles inside of K-pop. I remember so many people saying that it was one of the best debuts they had ever seen. Even girl group stans far and wide liked it, and we know how a lot of girl group stans feel about 4th gen boy group debuts, okay? Given Taken dropped at the end of November in 2020 and had many people waiting with bated breath to see what they were going to do next. After a relatively quick turnaround of about 5 months, Enhypen had their first comeback with Drunk-Dazed on April 26, 2021. Before we get into the actual song itself, I want to talk about the wider K-pop landscape in early 2021 because early 2021 K-pop was interesting. Like, I just want to get you in the right mindset for this time because I'm not quite sure what it was, but there was something in the air that just felt different. I think it may have been that a lot of 3rd gen boy groups were entering or already in their enlistment periods, so 4th gen boy groups were trying to use that to find a foothold and gain traction in the industry. Thing is, that wasn't really working out for many of them. In fact, the opposite kind of ended up happening. It seemed for the first few months that the year would be dominated by girl groups, soloists, and long-established artists making a comeback. If you think I'm exaggerating, I assure you I am not. Here are some of the early 2021 releases, titles listed along the top of the screen. So there were a lot of iconic songs in there, and notice I didn't include a single 4th gen boy group. And that's because this is when we started seeing a lot of those copycat noisy chant choruses oversaturating the market and causing them all to sort of blend together. I mean, listen to these.
Let's get it, know that man. That's chillin', oh my god.
There are are some songs that I'm fond of in there, but you gotta admit that they all start sounding the same at some point. Even my ults were a part of this. Which is how you know I'm not trying to dig at anyone, and it was genuinely just a capital T thing that was getting repetitive and that people were getting tired of. See my video on why chant choruses are a problem for a more in-depth explanation on that whole thing, but that's not to say that all boy groups were doing this. There were definitely some that still believed in actually singing in their choruses, I guess. But they were few and far between and pretty much nugu. At least definitely not from the big 3/4, whatever you want to call them at this point in time. The only big 3/4 comeback that year was Treasure's My Treasure, which didn't do like fantastic for a YG group and was also a brighter and happier concept. I remember CIX's Cinema and On and Off's Beautiful Beautiful doing well and receiving a lot of praise, but both of those songs are also pretty happy and bright. I'm beautiful. Good songs, but not gonna scratch that noise gremlin part of the brain that many boy group stans, me included, just can't seem to get rid of. So there was this huge gap in the industry for someone with a high standing to release music that was loud but still creative. Enter Enhypen. Okay, now finally getting into the music itself. They sing! They actually sing! It's not anything that's like super complex or even all that impressive considering there isn't even like a token high note in the song. It's just that they sing and they deliver it very well. Each line in the chorus has a very particular pace that goes from fast and consistent to these abruptly long and stretched words. The lurching slides on Days, Replay, and Dance are so consistent between each of the vocalists and repetitive enough that it really allows the song to embody its title. Add in the fact that each line follows the same melody, and it's really easy to see why the song is so hypnotically catchy. But it's not just the chorus that has this effect. The start of the verses have a similar delivery, but it's more toned down and sly. The vocalists drift between each note as if they're half awake, and their tones are intentionally breathy and feathery, or at least they put some sort of effect on their voices to make it sound that way, to further that feeling. It makes the sections where they focus their sound and sing harsher pop all the more because of the contrast. I especially love Sunoo in the second verse because of how quickly and thoroughly he switches styles. He sounds like he's absolutely melting at first. But his second line is choppy and rough. It's so subtle, but he does a great job with it. And I think that's kind of the theme of the vocals in this song. It's subtle, but all the little touches are so intently and solidly delivered that it doesn't need anything flashy to shine. Moving past the vocals, the structure and the instrumental also play a huge role in its catchiness and replayability. First, I want to address the length of the song. So, a lot of people have a gripe with songs getting shorter in K-pop, me included, and that's because it often greatly hurts the replayability of a song. I find a song that's over 4 minutes anymore, and I feel like I could listen to that thing all day because there is a whole minute more than usual that spaces out each loop of the song. Now, Drunk-Dazed is only 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Not bad, but not great. So how come hardly anyone ever complained about it? I think it has to do with the song's structure. Almost every single section you could conventionally stick in a song is here. We have 2 verses, 2 normal choruses, a bridge, a final chorus, and even an outro. Some of those parts may be short, but they're all there and they're all distinct enough in their sound to feel like you're not listening to the same thing over and over and over within the same listen of the song. The tone changes, the pace changes, the instrumental changes. I mean, you could technically lope this song in with all the other noisy boy group music out there, but when you really look at it, the chorus is the only truly noisy thing about it, and that's not even going by the actual definition of noise music. I think people liked the ebb and flow of it, and that's why it appealed even to people who swore off boy groups in 2021. So let's dive deeper into all of these ebbs and flows. Similar to what I talked about with God's Menu in my Why It Went Viral for that song, Drunk-Dazed also has this pulsing bass line at the center of things that runs the course of the entire song, but also has subtle variations every now and then that keep it from getting boring or too repetitive. Right off the bat, we get this low EDM bassline beat being the only thing accompanying the vocals. It's a very hollow thud that creates this floaty and dazed soundscape for the rest of the song to build off of. It almost feels like you're suspended, floating in this tank of water with a party going on around you outside. You can see the flashing lights and feel the thrumming beat, but the details get lost because every single sensation slowly dissolves in its effort to fight its way toward you. If that was too weird and abstract of a metaphor for you, just think of it like one of those insert song, but you're in the bathroom at a party videos. That's what it's reminiscent of. It's that. So that beat keeps going until it cuts out during the pre-chorus, allowing the song to go from floaty to downright wispy. With no true beat to ground the trippiness of the song, it feels like the few aspects that are still present are grasping at each other, trying to keep from dissipating. The few tethers binding the song together get cut, and the song starts relying even more on the vocals to carry it. This is something they push to the extreme when the chorus hits, because not only does the beat cut out, but everything does. There's this pause. One moment of complete silence, and then Jungwon delivers the first couple words of the chorus with nothing but a couple harmonies accompanying him. This is the part of the song that I think really shines because it mirrors the moment of calm before the storm. That sensation of holding your breath despite adrenaline coursing through your veins right before something big happens. If we go back to my stupid little party water tank metaphor, it's like floating there in that unbothered haze, only to turn your head and see someone with a sledgehammer standing next to the tank. And when the beat finally kicks back in, that's when they swing it and shatter everything keeping you in that muffled state of mind. The instrumental pretty much bursts out from where it had been holding back in just about every way. Everything explodes out as soon as Jungwon hits his first daze, creating this really interesting contrast between the quick and choppy noisiness of the instrumental versus the smooth and lax sliding of the vocalists. It plays into the whole bewildered chaos concept really nicely, actually. A couple things to note here. The EDM bassline is back, but it's louder and brassier than before. It provides something familiar, so again, serving as that primary building block, but they've cranked it up to 11, so it still adds more energy to the song. I also want to bring attention to the percussion here because there is little to no percussion anywhere in this song except for the chorus and the bridge, which we haven't hit yet, and that's the main reason that this chorus feels so full. There's not even that many instruments being used here, it's just that the other sections are so devoid that by comparison, it feels like there are. It's just a steady bass drum thumping on every other beat, with a snare filling in the opposite beats, and what I think is a quick tambourine or something similar filling out the higher range. But the chorus's instrumental doesn't just stand out because of what it adds, it's also about what it takes away. Similar to the very beginning of the chorus, there are these little pauses throughout it with this screeching, squeaking noise. I don't know what to call them, these things. All of the noise cuts out around it, except this time it's much more jarring than when it happens at the beginning of the chorus because there's a lot more noise to take away abruptly. The difference is more exaggerated, and it keeps the instrumental from getting too repetitive or stale. Once again, pairs nicely with the chaos theme. It's kind of like you're being thrown around between the cacophony of the instrumental, the changing pace of the vocal rhythms, and the sudden stops. I'm going to skim past the second verse and chorus because it's pretty much the same thing, just with some bass drum added in the second chorus. Moving into the bridge, we get some wavering synths alongside a crashing cymbal and a halftime bass drum that slows everything down. This part of the song sounds very different from the rest, and there is a very big and important reason why. For the entirety of the song, that EDM bass line has been the common thread tying everything down and keeping it all grounded, except for in the pre-chorus where it's intentionally omitted because that section is supposed to sound floaty. Notice how it's missing here, but the song still feels grounded because of that halftime beat. So we get intensity without using that bass line, which is crucial because of what they want to do next. Now we're rolling into the final chorus, which is probably my favorite part of the song when looking at it like this, because the moves they make to keep scaling the energy up and up and up are genius. So coming out of the bridge, they play the same trick that they did in the other choruses where everything goes quiet for one moment, then Jungwon comes in with some backing vocals and they wait until he says "dazed" to add the full instrumental. Except this time, they don't add the full instrumental. They only add the brassier, noisier version of the EDM bass line. So basically, it's an anti-drop into the final chorus. Except it's not even that, because an anti-drop usually has at least three things: vocals, a bass line, and a beat. We're missing the beat, so it's literally just a fake out. And this fake out is only possible because they've set up this consistent bass line throughout the entire song and pulled back on it in the bridge right before. They accomplished this really sonically dramatic effect without even filling in their chorus all the way, so guess what they do to keep building to the end? They fill in the instrumental for the second half. It is literally the exact same instrumental as the other choruses, but it feels so much bigger just because of the build-up. And here's the thing, they probably could have stopped right there and just ended the song, but they didn't. Instead, they chose to add this little outro that is so short and simple, but so effective because it's a chant. We're all familiar with the YG Party chorus, right? Well, this is that, but like, more emo, I guess. It builds that intensity even more and also provides some new melodies when it throws in some new ad-libs with the woes at the end of each line. So, to summarize the last minute of the song, we go from a left field halftime beat to nothing, to an anti-drop fake out, to a full chorus, and then end with a full chant. It's wild, and it is so, so good. To be fair to every other group out there, this isn't actually that rare of a technique to use in the final chorus of a song. In fact, it's fairly common. It's just that I think Drunk-Dazed is more effective than most for a few reasons. First off, that EDM bass line that I just can't seem to shut up about. They play the long game in setting it up and subverting it, so it doesn't come off as a cheap trick. It works really well. Secondly, they extend the anti-drop to its fullest. Very few times have I seen a group strip their instrumental so bare and keep it that way for so long. Yes, groups will commonly quiet things down for a bar or two to create some sort of variation, but Enhypen went really hard when they left everything to that one bass line for the entire half of the final chorus. Counting from the end of the bridge to when the instrumental fully kicks back in, it is a whopping 15 seconds of that emptiness, which is like forever in K-pop song time, considering everything is like 2 minutes and 30 seconds anymore. Looking at you, bite me. Like, they really committed here, and it really paid off. Thirdly and lastly, the key that it's in plays a huge role. At its core, Drunk-Dazed is a club bop, but there's something about it that feels more sinister that allows it to have this pretty unique tone. I mean, there's a lot of club bops in K-pop, but something just sets Drunk-Dazed apart, and I think that something is the key that it's written in. Now, I'm not 100% positive on this because it's very difficult to find verified technical information about a pop song, and I am not great at figuring out a song's key by ear, but from what I can tell and from what I've seen a couple other sources say, Drunk-Dazed is an F minor, which is really interesting because, like, let that sink in. A club bop in a minor key? Huh? Like, as soon as I realized this, I felt like I had finally cracked this song open. Listen, I'm not aware of how many minor key club bops there are in K-pop, but I'd be willing to bet that there aren't many, and the ones that do exist probably use it to make it more of a sultry and sexy tone or a condescending I'm better than you tone. The only song that I can think of that wouldn't fall into this category would be iKON's Killing Me. And we all know how people ate that one up too. So we have a club bop with a darker tone, and what is tone if not a precursor for the entire concept? There's a lot of themes and cliches going on in the concept for Drunk-Dazed, but they all manage to coalesce in a way that's coherent and still avoids coming off as cheesy or tropey, which a lot of boy groups get accused of when they go for angstier concepts. I mean, Enhypen used a vampire theme like the biggest cliche ever and still managed to avoid making it corny. I think the biggest thing aiding Enhypen here is that they gave it a more elegant feel during the toned down sections of the song. The number one way to make a boy group's concept less cliche and more mature is by making it more elegant. I mean, look at these shots here. Even if the music video mostly takes place at a party, these intermittent scenes of something classier sort of dresses up the video to elevate it. Not only that, but it also plays into their theme of chaos here. You get these calm and dignified moments interspersed with the messy and bold ones, and also the strange in-betweens where the chaos is there, but we're detached from it. These differing scenes should appear nonsensical, but it's those in-betweens that pull it together, along with the fact that the setting largely stays the same. For most of the video, we're in this darkened house party that warps between claustrophobic to intimidatingly open. It's still the same setting, so we recognize every shot, but the changing scale makes it just different enough to feel off. Everything about this concept is constantly in flux, but it all commits to this lurking undercurrent of suspense and doom, and that is what makes it cohesive. Combining that uncanny unease with a danceable beat while still sticking to that darker aesthetic is what allows it to push past the angsty cliche and into something more. I feel like I can't talk about Drunk-Dazed without at least mentioning Fever, the standout B-side off the same mini-album. I mean, it has more streams than Drunk-Dazed on Spotify, and even its music video views are high enough to rival the title track. I almost could have made this video about Fever in the first place because the reality is that both of these songs played into each other's popularity. If you were in the mood for some head bopping, Drunk-Dazed was perfect. But if you wanted something more relaxed that still kept the same vibe, then Fever was perfect. The way I see it, Drunk-Dazed and Fever both showed up at the same party, it's just that Fever has been laying on the couch stoned for over an hour now, while Drunk-Dazed is still living it up on the dance floor. Fever is slow and smooth all the way through, where Drunk-Dazed stutters and sprints at different intervals. Fever is stable and revels in that consistency, whereas Drunk-Dazed has massive mood swings to keep your attention. The two contrast yet complement each other so well, both musically and visually. If you're one of the few that can't enjoy both, it's almost guaranteed that you at least like one of them, and that is Enhypen's real weapon for this comeback. Their ability to appeal to nearly everyone without sacrificing the consistency of their music. These two songs showcased Enhypen's ability to be versatile in their sound while still being consistent with their style, a balance many groups don't discover until years into their careers. To accomplish that in your very first comeback is an impressive feat, and one that set the bar intimidatingly high for their future releases. Fever and Drunk-Dazed were a perfect pairing in how they played off each other, and that gave Enhypen the shot of popularity that pushed them forward. So that's what I have for why Drunk-Dazed went viral. Every day, I both impress and hate myself for being able to talk about something like a single instrumental for over 10 minutes. But hey, we're still under half an hour, so I will take that as a win. That's my big goal, to avoid going over half an hour. I haven't done it yet, but I can feel it coming one of these days. But that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about Drunk-Dazed in the comments below. Were you also obsessed with this song in 2021? Is there something that I didn't mention that you would like to bring up? I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you liked the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps me out. Thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye!